Tonight, an accused drug kingpin arrested in the Yorke Peninsula. And Broken Hill's Duke of Cornwall Park scores $1.4 million for new amenities, smart bins and a new basketball court.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Madeline Kerr begins now.
Good evening, thanks for joining us. The alleged head of a crime syndicate has been arrested on the Yorke Peninsula following a complex and lengthy police investigation. The 47-year-old man is facing dozens of charges, including for the alleged trafficking of drugs valued in the millions.
Police describing it as a significant blow to organised crime.
At about 4:50 p.m. on Sunday the 21st of August, detectives from Serious Organised Crime Branch attached to Task Force Ironside attended at an address on the Yorke Peninsula and arrested a 47-year-old male, formerly of New South Wales.
The list of charges in the 40s. Authorities alleging the man is the head of an organised crime syndicate, which they believe operates both nationally and internationally.
The male was arrested on a first instant warrant and has since been charged with multiple counts of trafficking controlled drugs, including methamphetamine, ecstasy, cocaine, cannabis and money laundering offences. The controlled drugs allegedly trafficked by this male and his syndicate are valued in the millions of dollars.
The man also wanted by the FBI over another matter, involving the alleged use of the Anom encrypted platform.
I think it sends a message clearly to other organised crime syndicates that we never stop looking.
He appeared in the Adelaide Magistrates Court yesterday, where he was refused bail. Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Nominations for the local government elections are now open, with Port Augusta City Council to hold seminars for anyone interested in running. The council, which is now in caretaker mode, admits they're struggling for nominations, which close in just a matter of weeks.
With over 1.2 million South Australians eligible to stand for local council, Port Augusta City Council is still waiting for more hats to be thrown into the ring. To help make that happen, Council is hosting seminars for prospective candidates this week. CEO John Banks admits there hasn't been a lot of interest so far, primarily blaming election fatigue.
We tend to find out who's actually running at the very last minute, but this year it's been relatively quiet to this point. That's not entirely unusual, and so we'll see how we go.
The window of opportunity to nominate is tight, just 2 weeks from today until midday on September 6th. Today also marks the beginning of caretaker mode, which means Port Augusta City Council is prohibited from making designated decisions and from using council resources that may favour a particular candidate.
There are provisions under the Act that enable very important matters to be dealt with, and we try and schedule those important decisions outside of the caretaker timeframe, and I think we've successfully done that. But you never know if there is going to be something crop up, and if it does, we'll deal with that.
Ratepayers also reminded not to disregard any letters from council, as this year's election is being held by a postal vote.
When those envelopes do come out, we encourage people that sooner rather than later, take them, open them, read them, have a look, ask some questions, but most importantly, make sure you get that postal vote back in or drop it into your local council.
The Port Augusta face-to-face seminar is at 5:30 tomorrow night at the council building. Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Broken Hill City Council has received $1.4 million to upgrade Duke of Cornwall Park. The money will also go towards a new housing development in the Silver City.
Increasing the Silver City's livability, one round of funding at a time. The Duke of Cornwall Park is up next.
We need to make sure when people drive into town, or the people that are already here, what they see is something they like. And when you see pretty, well-kept parks, it makes a big difference.
The cool $1.4 million came via the New South Wales Regional Housing Fund, along with the park upgrades, like new amenities such as smart bins, fencing and a half basketball court. Some medium-density housing will also be built, set to be constructed near the Aquatic Centre.
There's probably room for 4 or 5 units there, and what that does is it'll give confidence in the community, confidence to the community, and people investing in Broken Hill that we're here for the long term.
Not only does it make Broken Hill a more attractive place to live, it's also affordable.
Broken Hill's growing, houses are needed, and we need to make sure that we have enough houses to keep rental prices down so that everyone that currently lives in Broken Hill can afford to live in Broken Hill.
Construction is expected to get underway as soon as possible, with council hoping to partner up with a local company for the upgrades and build.
Look, council hasn't made a decision on that, but you'd like to think that council will use locals where possible. Sometimes that's not possible because thankfully a lot of our locals are getting plenty of work.
Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Country sport is often the heart and soul of regional South Australian towns, no matter your age, rank or status. The Sammy D Foundation was in Port Augusta this week with a blunt message: don't be an idiot.
The Sammy D Foundation has been in Port Augusta for several days, hosting workshops and speaking seminars at Central Oval and Port Augusta High School. Named after Sammy Davis, an up-and-coming football player with South Adelaide, he was killed in 2008 by a punch to the back of his head during a party. He was just 17. His father, Neil Davis, and co-founder of the foundation, spoke to an audience of parents, players and children on Monday night, telling them about his son, Sam.
You can get the police to come in and say, if you do this, this could happen. You can get the teachers to say, this could happen. We're the people coming in telling a real story, showing lots of pictures of Sam. He's just a normal boy like everyone else. And we're saying, this did happen. We have to stop this happening to other people.
The workshops cover party safety, anti-bullying and violence prevention in schools, sporting clubs and the community, and teaching parents to be positive role models.
What gives us the right to think that it's okay for us to go out and yell at other kids? What gives us the right to be able to think it's okay for us to be yelling at coaches or umpires? Just because you're in a sporting arena, it doesn't make it any different to when you're down the shops. You wouldn't do it when you're down the shops. Don't do it when you're out watching your kids play.
Mr Davis says if the foundation and his work can save one life, it's all worth it. Daniel Pizarro, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Fowlers Ranges is one step closer to becoming a World Heritage Site. The UNESCO Heritage Bid team recently toured the ex-copper mining town as part of an assessment process to potentially add the ranges to the World Heritage List by 2025. The region was nominated for heritage status following the discovery of more fossil deposits, showing what life was like more than 600 million years ago. Additional UNESCO tours will take place next month before a decision is made. Still to come tonight, a fresh boost to get more people boosted against COVID, and the inclusive sporting program coming to the Spencer Gulf. Welcome back. Living with COVID has become somewhat of a normality as Australia approaches 10 million cases. However, the majority of the population is yet to receive their third jab. With the increased rate of infection, health professionals are warning people not to get complacent.
It's been over 2 years since the global pandemic first took hold, but COVID-19 still poses a threat to the community. With most of us dealing with COVID information fatigue, Dr. Andrew Rochford says we still need to take it seriously.
Nearly 4,000 people in hospital and 122 in ICU. It's still a very real concern for the community. We still need to care about ourselves and those around us, and the best way for us to protect ourselves and our family is through vaccination.
Just over 70% of eligible Australians have received their third booster shot, and only 38% have received their fourth.
Our numbers around the third booster vaccination are okay. Our numbers around the fourth are low. And so we just really need to make sure that we are keeping up to date. That's what the My Health record's there for.
Taking a look at all of the active cases across the region now, according to the SA Health Map. In Port Lincoln, there are 75 active cases compared to 96 in the Yorke Peninsula. Up at Whyalla, there are reports of 164 active cases and around 114 in Port Augusta. Over the pond in Port Pirie, the township currently has 124 active cases of COVID and 129 cases in Broken Hill. It's been a tough winter for some with the increase of respiratory illnesses. And although we have passed the peak, we aren't in the clear just yet.
A really shocking season when it comes to other types of, respiratory viruses. So it'll be good to see us coming out of that, getting into some warmer months, but that doesn't mean that we're not going to be out of the woods. We still need to make sure that if you do need a flu vaccine, you're getting it.
Henry Millick, 7 Spencer Golf News.
An inclusive sports day is coming to Whyalla, which will see people of all abilities try their hand at something called pickleball. Edward McCarroll has more.
For a town like Whyalla that loves their sport, up until now some people have been left on the sidelines. But now the Disability Inclusive Reference Group is bringing a series of inclusive sports to the city to make sure everyone gets a go.
On that group, it's made up of people with disability and people who are interested, and they had said that there was not enough around Whyalla for people with a disability.
The group's calendar is filled to the brim with upcoming activities, such as a chance to learn how to play the growing sport of pickleball. After successful pickleball sessions were held in Port Lincoln earlier this year, organisers One Culture have been invited to introduce the sport to Whyalla locals on the 30th of August.
That sport is a racket sport. That is a very easily understood and well picked up sport for people.
So I watched a really cool video earlier today, and it was like the old four-square kind of court, and you had 3 people in wheelchairs that were having an absolute ball alongside an able-bodied person.
The group will also be holding various sports days, with experts travelling to the city to help locals have a go at Paralympic sports.
Paralympics Australia, John's coming down from Adelaide to do some guest speaking, and then he'll also be doing some Paralympic sports sessions.
So for us, in our reference group, it's all about that inclusivity, where all people come together, enjoy sport, some sports that they haven't actually been able to have been offered in Whyalla before, and participate really well.
Session times for the events are available on the Optimal Support Facebook page. Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. The Minister for Local Government offers his advice for upcoming council candidates. And Broken Hill City Library gets into the spirit of Book Week. Welcome back to 7 Spencer Golf News. Continuing our local council election coverage, with more than 2 decades of experience in local council, Jeff Brock is leading the charge when it comes to getting Port Pirie locals to nominate themselves for the upcoming election. Annabelle Francis spoke with him.
When it comes to learning a thing or two about local council's function, Minister for Local Government Jeff Brock is the person to talk to.
I encourage people to actually nominate for council. I've had 20 years on council. It was one of the most enjoyable periods of my life. It was absolutely fantastic.
Plenty of exciting projects are happening in Port Pirie and surrounds. And as an elected member, you are in the privileged position to directly influence decisions that affect the quality of life for locals.
Opportunities to actually form the direction of your community going forward with the long-term financial stability, the long-term planning of infrastructure and things like that, but it also gets you to be part of the community itself.
Minister for Local Government Jeff Brock says it's vital to have a diverse group of council members who can represent a wide range of people, including more women, younger people, different cultural backgrounds and people living with a disability.
And what I want those people to do is be part of our community going forward. I know they're involved with their own sporting clubs and things like that, but I would really love to see them as part of the local government going forward for the next 4 years.
Candidate information workshops were held in Port Pirie Council chambers last night. For more information, head to Council's website. Annabelle Francis, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Broken Hill City Library is getting into the spirit of Book Week by putting on a play for the children. The play is based on a popular book parents and carers are most likely familiar with, called Mo and Crow.
It's been a few years since the library has been able to put on their annual Book Week play, but now it's back, and it's not just the kids looking forward to it.
So we've got a new team now, and our new team has been introduced to what it means to have Book Week in the library. So biggest week of the library year, and everybody's having a wonderful time.
Local schools and preschools come for the play, but stay for the arts and crafts before heading back to the classroom.
We perform a play, we get the school kids to come, the preschools as well, and they usually do a bit of craft afterwards as well before they go back to school.
With hours and hours of work being poured into pulling off the show, staff say it's worth it when they see all the smiling faces in the audience.
Oh, it's quite special actually. Like and it's sort of, you know, you get a little bit emotional because the kids have such a good time, and the adults have such a good time as well, and the staff. So not only have the staff been working flat out here to get Mo's wall and the sky and everything ready, my partner was dragged into it as well, and he's created Mo's house.
Mo and Crow tells the story of a man who lives alone until a crow comes along and changes his life forever. The play will run on Thursday and Friday starting at 10:30 a.m. Members of the public are also welcome to come along and have a watch. Joshua Mercer, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. From volleyball to netball and even golf, we recap the weekend's sporting results. And we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. Sport across the region is getting down to business with finals only weeks away. Games were going down to the wire as teams made one last run at making the final, while others secured their spots in the big dance. Henry Millick has more.
Another weekend of sport here in the Spencer Gulf saw some evenly fought matches take to centre court, where players battled it out for their spot in the finals. Starting here in Port Lincoln with A1 netball. Second on the ladder, Fowlers Ranges beat Boston's comfortably, outscoring them 56-30. On court 2, it was top of the table Waybacks who secured the narrow win over Imperials, with the final score reading 37-35. Teams will now be preparing for their first final this weekend. In the Port Pirie Netball Association, teams played off in the first round of finals. Here, SM Celtic defeated Solomon Town in a close one by just 6 goals. In the next match, also played on Friday night, saw Central Risdon pull off an upset, beating top of the ladder Blue Wren 53-35, securing their spot in the grand final. Moving on to Broken Hill's spring netball competition, and things are well and truly on the way. Round 2 saw West Flames Red defeat the New Kids due to a disqualification, whilst United beat West Flames Black 34-16. In the last game, Jesters rolled through the Divas comfortably, winning the match 70-10. Moving back over to Port Lincoln, where there was another exciting round of golf. Saturday's Stableford round saw 65 men and 13 women play, with 3 visitors from Coffin Bay and West Lakes golf clubs. In the A grade, it was Warren Rosman who counted out Cody Machesi to win 38 points. Similarly, in the B grade, Daryl Scarf took out the crown with 36 from Chase Chamberson, who finished one behind on 35. And finally, in Port Lincoln soccer, Seacold Masters went down to the Lincoln Knights by 2 goals. Charlie Price, the difference maker, putting both goals in the back of the net for the Knights. In the other game, it was a close match, where South Coast defeated Lincoln City Raiders 4-3. And that just about does it for sport. We'll be keeping a close eye on all of the finals action in the coming weeks.
A close eye indeed. Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Alex Sykes. Alex, there's just 1 week left of winter.
It sure is, Maddie, and it felt like it in Woodner this morning, dipping down to 1.9 degrees just before 7 a.m, but it felt more like minus 0.7. Woodner warming up to 15.3 degrees this afternoon, just 13 in Kadina this afternoon, while Cooper Pedy had its coolest maximum of the month so far, reaching just 16.2 degrees at 3:40. Looking more broadly at today's temperatures now, 14 degrees in Port Lincoln, Whyalla and Port Pirie, just 12 degrees in Broken Hill today after a rainy night. Just under 5 millimetres fell before another drizzle this afternoon. Taking a look at the satellite image now, a large high south of Western Australia extends a ridge over the state, with the high expected to move slowly eastwards to be south of the Bight on Thursday and over the southern Tasmanian Sea on the weekend. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Southwesterly winds 10 to 15 knots, seas around 1 metre, and south to southwesterly swell between 1 and 2.5 metres. Possible showers in Port Lincoln between 7 and 15 degrees there. Cleve cloudy, top of 14 tomorrow, 15 degrees in Woodner. Partly cloudy in Whyalla on Wednesday, set to reach a top of 16 degrees there. Down to 3 degrees in Port Augusta tonight, warming up to 17 tomorrow with partly cloudy conditions. Showers in Kadina, 14 degrees. Showers in Port Pirie as well, heading for a top of 15 degrees there. Between 3 and 11 degrees in Clare, Rainy and Broken Hill will have some cloud coverage. 15 is the warmest it will get. Taking a look further through the week now, 16 degrees in Port Pirie and Whyalla on Thursday. Rain is likely at this stage. 40% chance of showers south of Hawker, 17 degrees in Port Augusta. Very high chance of rain in Port Lincoln, most likely in the afternoon and evening, heading for a top of 15 degrees. Moving on to Friday's forecast now, and just like that, partly cloudy conditions across the board, except for, you guessed it, Port Lincoln. High chance of morning showers, heading for a top of 15 degrees. Elsewhere, 16 degrees in Kadina and Broken Hill, 17 in Woodner, Whyalla and Port Pirie, bit warmer in Port Augusta, 19 degrees. And finally, taking our first look at Saturday's outlook and what a start to the weekend it will be. Partly cloudy to mostly sunny conditions across the Spencer Gulf, temperatures between 18 and 22 degrees. Well, Maddie, we certainly see the end of winter with that forecast right there. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. It's back to you.
Thanks for that, Alex. And that's the local news this Tuesday. I'm Madeline Kerr. From all of us here, thanks for joining us. I'll have updates a little later, but until then, enjoy your evening. Good night.